coming up here with the likes of CIS Hope against Orgless in Hungary, and was an interesting night over at the Overwatch League. New York coming out on top there in the end versus Seoul. Definitely one you want to look back and watch if you missed out, but you also definitely don't want to miss out on this matchup, as so far, just looking at the team compositions in general, when it comes to the defensive side here for CIS Hope, they're going to be rolling with Unfixed on that Pharah to really contest the opposing Pharah coming out of Facility in those air battles.
It's interesting to see this on defense, especially, and we're seeing Facility pull one out himself. We're gonna definitely have to watch this battle for sure up in the sky at the moment. Tonic, though, getting ripped down already. Kenzie with a nice first pick. Remember that is just extra time off the clock now for Orgless and Hungary as they're backed up. They've now taken 30 seconds, and they haven't yet really fully engaged. We saw the Winston going in slightly, but I mean, the damage there was just so front-ended by Kenzie and the rest of the guys here from CIS Hope that they just shut it down completely.
Oh, but Facility looking for those targets. However, Shax will be the first one to go down. Fenzi finds main in the end, and with these trades, it's looking like in the end, overall, it will be CIS Hope holding out strong, especially with the Resurrect coming out of Eng there. Will mean that main will be back up. Both supports available here for this side of CIS Hope. And when it comes to the offense, we've seen plenty of Zenyatta's being picked in the past, but EPZ picking up that Lucio. What's your take on this one, Hirix?
Well, I mean, Epps is playing this Lucio because he wants to get everybody into position quickly. Ooh, that one, I think Kenzie actually just had his Pulse Bomb eaten up there by Fenzi, and that is going to be the case. Fenzi did wind up gobbling that Pulse Bomb up, getting a little quick breakfast, or I guess lunch for you guys over there, but nonetheless, now Kenzie taking on Shax in a duel. Kenzie definitely getting the better half of that. And now getting a little bit of that health back. And it looks like Cruz is coming back through, getting a couple of reses off. Already had to pop that Valkyrie. Transcendence now popped as well from main. As he pulls back into the corner, he's going to find himself a kill on the Tonic. And Sherrick now with the Primal Rage, looking to try to take down Cruz, who's still on this Mercy, is trying to stay alive, looking for a health pack. He'll go down. They just have to mop up now this D.Va out of mech.
And very nicely done here by this tank lineup of CIS Hope, managing to stay on the point and survive and take those targets down, because Aang did go out relatively early coming into that team fight, and as a result, I really was starting to favor Orgless' Hungary push to potentially finally get something done on this point. But with 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining now on that timer, we're going to try and at the very least force a couple of ultimates coming out of the defensive side here, potentially, as Sharik is good to go with the Primal Rage, should be able to have that extra staying power on the point, also push the opposition away or just split them up, make sure they have a better potential angle here. But Unfixed is gonna get the best of Facility, who tries to pull a fast one with that Rocket Barrage.
Jark now popping the Primal Rage as he got low, hunting down this Mercy, battering him around at the moment, pulling him all the way back into spawn. Kenzie gonna find that kill, but talk about a great counter dive from CIS Hope. We saw Facility searching for Unfixed in the sky. Unfixed baited him out into the open a little bit, pulled the barrage out, and as soon as he did, Chow Shark were both all over that, jumped all over him in the air there and ripped him down as well. Great stuff so far from CIS Hope.
And at the very least here, coming into this next one, they really need to look for a potential Transcendence coming out of the defensive side main. Having that available should, at the very least, stall things long enough so that Aang will be good to go with the Valkyrie. And we know all too well how important that particular resource is. And now Cruz opening up with his Valk is going to mean that Facility will get the best out of Unfixed. But oh man, CIS Hope still answering with those return kills. Shax being brought back up is going to be looking to have a little more success. Even now, Fenzi going for the self-destruct will have the resuit available. He's going to go down though. No, manages to stay alive, but with the bomb coming out means that he will be desuited, and CIS Hope still going strong. Shax though is going to find Sharik, and with those final few kills, we will see overtime kicking in. They need to make this worry, but Unfixed pulls out the Rocket Barrage, gets 2 kills, and even though with Epps taking down in the end, it's going to be all CIS Hope as they hold strong on Ayunval here, Hirix.
With this Zenyatta, they're going to be able to just pump out so much damage in the opposition. We're seeing Fenzi and Tonic take so much pressure initially and then continue that on, especially as Main and Aang are just both so safe in all these pushes, especially Main, who comes around, kind of just finds a point of recession either inside the house or just in the hallway back towards the next stage of the map, goes back in there and is almost untouched. We're not even seeing Shaxx really kind of diving in for that either. And that allows those discords to get a lot of effectiveness because he can just focus on which targets he wants to call, which targets he wants everybody to focus, instead of worrying about trying to get the tracer off of himself or try to peel or anything like that. So easy for CIS Hope, I would say, so far, and a questionable first start for Orgless and Hungry, who yesterday looked fantastic, and all of a sudden now their attacks just look disjointed.
And even though Facility did manage to get quite a bit of damage in, time and time again, charging up that rocket barrage really quickly, doesn't seem like he could really find an angle. And as you said, could be also down to the simple fact that main uncontested on that Zenyatta was able to just discord him, and as a result, make it really easy for the rest of his team to clean up that kill. And now that we're going to swap side, we will see Epps make the swap over to the Zenyatta himself. So they're going to just basically mirror the composition from the opposition with that previous round. And now looking at this lineup of CIS Hope, we see an early Moira pick. And as a result, we might just see a quad tank composition. But with Kenzie being yesterday so proficient on that Widowmaker, we might still see him pull that one out once again.
I'd be interested in seeing a tank strat here. I mean, I'm not sure if Kenzie's going to go with it or what. It doesn't seem like that is going to happen. But if it does, I'd be interested in seeing how Facility performs when he has, you know, a huge opportunity to make the most of the pick that he's chosen here for his defense. Now, as we go over to the attack, time starts ticking. Kenzie and Unfix really have stayed, but now with Kenzie already looking to see if he can find a sightline, he goes over to the Tracer. So now really no direct answer, of course, to Facility in the sky. And he's going to certainly get off a lot of damage here, but Chao's going to get them onto the point. So now they have the opportunity to start controlling.
They're going to already look to fight. Epps being brought extremely low will go down. And with the return kill coming out of Unfix, it is still an equal battle in terms of that man advantage numbers potentially here, as Tonic and Fenzi will get the DC over on Chao. But remember, it's one tick is all they need if they can somehow push the opposition away. And with that Reinhardt swinging away, Sharik looking to do just so. But the return kill coming, or rather with the kill coming out of Zhao, it's gonna mean that number advantage will go overall in favor of Orgless and Hungry. And even with Coalescence coming out, it's only gonna manage to find one kill on Tonic. At the very least, will keep Aang safe for a while longer, but not long enough as Fenzi still gets that kill. Kenzie only getting a D-suit off of that pulse bomb, and overall it's still going to be Orgless and Hungry holding strong, but it was looking very dicey there for a second. And looking at this comp coming out of CIS Hope, it just seems like they just wanted to brute force their way on that point and push the opposition away, considering they just have that one tick, that 33% they need. And ooh, late kill onto Aang there too.
That's certainly going to slow things down once again, as you have to wait for the Mercy. You can't go in without her. Unfixed making swap though, going over to the McCree, certainly to try to deal with Facility and even kind of peel for the back line against Shaxx, I would have to imagine. And you also have that anti-dive potential. I just really like McCree in the current meta. Pulse bomb going out though, going to take down Sharik. And now it looks like CIS Hope trying to at least get something out of this, but not going to seem like that's going to happen at all. Crew's taking a little bit of damage, but with how high up he is, it's going to be tough to take him down. CIS Hope just waiting for that opportunity once again as Shark comes back in. He's going to be diving through, now pushing over towards Finzi. He has that Discord on him. Primal Rage coming out though from the other side. Tonic battering people around. Unfixed goes down because of it, and it looks like, again, Orgless and Hungry looking a lot stronger here on defense. They make the hold yet again.
Especially since they really don't even have to commit too many resources to do just so. Only Primal Rage in that previous team fight, and the problem here for CIS Hope is the fact that, okay, that first strat, that first comp really not pulling through for them means that with this somewhat of a hard reset when it comes to quite a few members on that lineup, they will be at a big disadvantage going forward with those ultimates being, or having to build them up. But now that they will have a few of their own, Kenzie's gonna look for an angle with that pulse bomb. Doesn't get anything done just yet, but so many resources on this Orgless and Hungry lineup means that they should be having still somewhat of a success. But ooh, the self-destruct's actually gonna catch main. Facility gets one kill off with their rocket bar. Self-destruct is gonna come through, look to push the opposition off the point. Epps though With the Transcendence, it's gonna be alive. Cruz bringing everyone back up is gonna make it easy for Orgless and Hungry to hold once more. And with 48 seconds remaining, we might just see a draw to start things out here, Hirix.
I really think CIS Hope has made a couple of mistakes here, and I'll explain them probably more later, but Eng popping that Valkyrie right there, would have liked to see him hold that. They would have had both support ults up against Epps and Cruz, who both popped theirs in the latter stage of that last fight. Would have been a big opportunity, big opening for the attacking team to move through. Now Deadeye ready for Unfixed. I don't think that he's going to be opening with this anytime soon, but certainly holding on to it to try to secure the fight would be a big turner here. But Kenzie already demeching Fenzi, finding the kill along with it. And remember, Val isn't in play here anymore. As Epps falls, we see Unfixed pulling out the Deadeye, trying to zone out this Baron, finds the kill on not only the Pharah, but also to the Winston. They secure the objective with Cruz still around. CIS Hope take the round.
That was so close, but the big thing there, even with seeing Eng pop that Valkyrie early into the fight, once we went into that last team fight, it was only Transcendence available on the side of the offensive side, whereas the defense, nothing really to work with, made things very difficult for them.
And then as soon as you lose that first person with Resurrect already down, and of course, being a diva as well, that's a tough loss.
And we'll be moving out to a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back at the analysis desk. What a way to start off the series by CIS Hope. I mean, both of the sides had a kind of a lackluster attack, but it was CIS Hope in the end, and Unfixed Deadeye, it did turn the tide, so to say.
Or you could also just mention the fact that both teams were really good at defending comparatively also.
That is also true.
Just looking at what really happened in that map, it came really down to the extra staying power provided by that Zenyatta ultimate. We all know how important those support ultimates are in general right now, so just having that little extra edge really did, in my opinion, decide the outcome of that particular win.
Yeah, we don't usually see the first point hold on Ica Ward. At least it's not that often, so to say. Now coming up next is Temple of Anubis. We've seen CIS Hope play it yesterday, and they looked pretty good, so to say.
We've seen a lot of this Reaper/Moira comps in terms of their pick rate in general, not even when it comes to Group 1, but in particular when it comes to CIS Hope in yesterday's match versus Dose. So considering how strong they were and how they managed to really play around Unfixed and that composition, I expect to see more of that, and will be interesting to note what Orgless and Hungry's answer will be in that case.
Yeah, it will be interesting if Orgless and Hungry can make a comeback. The map is ready, let's go.
Well, let's go, we shall. We're in Anubis now, and CIS Hope, of course, up 1-0 at the moment. Certainly looking pretty poised to take a quick one here, but it has been kind of slow to start things off. Both teams perhaps shaking off the rust, trying to warm up, maybe. I mean, for me, it's incredibly early in the morning, but not for all of you, so...
They shouldn't have an excuse in that regard.
Yeah, but maybe they were up super late watching the Overwatch League games like I was, but, you know, who's to say? At this stage, though, you can't be making excuses like that. You can't be dropping games just off of weird games the way we saw Eichenwald taking place. It was, overall, I mean, there was some good stuff happening, but it just wasn't... I don't want to use the word sloppy. I hate using the word sloppy, but it was kind of sloppy, right? I mean, there was some plays where we saw Sherrick and Shao playing off of each other really well, and then you look at their attacks, and it just wasn't looking anywhere close to the same. Both teams looking just way better on defense, then all of a sudden when they attack, it was just poor, you know?
But we'll see if they can, at the very least, make a better case for themselves this time as, oh no, already Kenzie opening up on that Widowmaker with the first kill to start things off on Anubis, and it definitely seems like defense is where it's at the very least today for both of these teams, as we'll see Kenzie once more be an absolute huge threat on that Widowmaker. We've seen him do it yesterday on the same map. We'll see if, at the very least, now that Orgless will be able to regroup, they can find anything to do here in terms of just push the opposition away off of their high ground. They'll just go ahead, group up, and try to get a right-hand side approach in this time around.
They have everybody stacked here for CIS Hope, too. They don't have anybody going over to that other high ground, and they're just holding everybody that they can up on top of this main on the back side. We're going to be actually seeing Epps holding from across now, and now he's just slinging damage in, but he's at 4 HP already, Brunch. They've already gotten the first tick. Orgless and Hungry just holding down below as Epps, again, under fire because that Orisa has yet to be denested. They're still just holding this off. He's going to be pulling people around. Finzi taking a lot of damage as he's looking to get demeched, and Chao somehow still staying alive. Look at the support going into this guy as he finally falls unfixed. We'll go ahead and start cleaning up, and Kenzie will take this. Oh, lose the battle to Cruz.
Cruz picking up his second kill of Anubis. Got one previously on that Zenyatta, but again, now being pushed away from the point does mean that they're gonna go ahead and go from a weird approach there. Cruz and Tonic forced in a very awkward spot, and will mean that Tonic goes down in the end. Cruz, however, pulled back, but will still at the very least be able to make it out alive. Some heroics coming out of him as Facility will be pushing the opposition away from that particular high ground advantage. No May means that they will not have the boost, get in the same exact position for now, but a Riptire coming out of Unfixed. We'll be looking for the targets, still healthy on it, still waiting out. We'll look for the D-Suit, and Finzi will get demeched, and as a result, will not be able to help Tonic with the dive, but it seems like it doesn't matter. Baby Diva's where it's at.
Now Unfixed taking a little bit of pressure as Facility is trying to hunt him down, but that Junkrat is just so good in that situation with those mines, and now we see Facility taking Chao out as soon as he actually pops that self-destruct. They're cleaning here, Brunch, and he has the blade that he's holding on to. It seems as though Kenzie will likely fall, and so he does. They will take the last tick. They will have an extra 4 minutes to work with towards point B, but they're coming away with not just that, but they're also having Epps Transcendence as well as that blade that I was talking about before, so a big option here, but they're going to have to worry about main. Now, is he going to want to pull out that Transcendence early, or are they going to hold it for the blade?
Ooh, but Kenzie getting that kill at the Facility is going to be big. It means that Cruz needs to somehow get in and resurrect, but not able to do just so. Will be pushed back, and so far looking so good for this lineup of CIS Hope, but even with that being said, Finzi finds a kill onto Sharik. Epps goes down though, and Self-Destruct doesn't find a kill, but Xiao getting 2 kills now on the board for him, and with Unfixed cleaning up house as well, we'll see Orgless and Hungry pushed back towards their spawn, and CIS Hope holds strong, and at that, they will have their Transcendence still good to go.
A lot committed there. Of course, they didn't use the blade, but Epps engaged with the Transcendence. Shaxx now making a swap, going over, of course, to the Tracer as well. But Main didn't have to really use anything, and we're going to be watching this Tire a little bit as well. Rip Tire for Unfixed has been pretty solid. He's been certainly looking to demech Finzi as often as possible. That really does kind of open things up for Kenzie, especially to just really start pestering in the back line. The Rip Tire is going to come out from Unfixed, slowly just looking for anything, but look at the way that this attacking team is just backing their way up, and they do wind up demeching Finzi yet again with the Tire to start the fight off. So now he either has to go in without his mech and try to take this fight, which is looking like it's going to be the case, which is kind of a waste of time in most cases. But once he gets his mech back, then we'll be able to start up. But this is about as good as you can get in terms of getting a diva kill. Now it's basically the same as getting an actual kill. They're just waiting for this mech to come back up as if you would go back to respawn, you know?
It's just so good here for CIS Hope. It's been really pretty much a treat watching Unfixed play that Junkrat as well alongside the rest of his team, but so far a lot of ultimates good to go. Cruz is going to open up with a Valk, now looking to shoot up Unfixed as he gets another kill. That's like the third one of the round, as he will be able to keep his teammates safe for now as well. Epps being brought extremely low, however Tonic finds the best out of that particular engage. Going down means that Cruz will be going in with the Resurrection Shriek extremely low, and now Epps coming in with the Transcendence will look to secure this team fight for his team. Xiao losing the mech means he's gonna go down. The return answer coming down out of Unfixed with the Tire. Who is he gonna look for? He gets actually Facility as he tried to dash through, and with that kill on top, it does mean that CIS Hope look to potentially get another stronghold here.
Great control of this back corner next to the respawn for CIS Hope. We saw Tonic diving in early on, juggled them into that corner, but there was just no ability to follow up because they just had such good control with Shark counter diving onto it and providing a little bit of protection with that barrier. As the fight kind of progressed, we saw Main pulling out that Transcendence to get away from what was a very dangerous position with Shaxx hunting him down at that stage, and they still just held that control so that Main could stay alive and control that area with that Zenyatta. It's held out quite well so far. Junkrat has really helped out with that. And now as they dive back in, Unfixed looking to turn quickly onto Chow. They already found the kill. Blade comes out nonetheless from Zility, trying to turn things back around. He's looking to demech Chow. That's going to force out the self-destruct just to get him back into the mech. Now they don't really have any ultimates. They're going to try to just hold this out with sheer power of will and some mechanical skill to back it up.
Oh man, it's a definite member advantage once again for CIS Hope, as Cruz did manage to find the 4th kill of Anubis on that Junkrat once more, but doesn't matter because even with the blade being used by the likes of Facility, he just doesn't seem to have enough room to work with overall. Finding one target, but nothing else really in return means that CIS Hope will have another strong hold, and with 1 minute on that timer, things are not looking good for Orgless once again, especially with Kenzie picking up another kill onto Shaxx.
It's a big pickup right there. It's all about taking time off the clock. They held first point quite well, especially considering they basically just gave up the first tick initially. Now it's down to 40 seconds here, Brunch, and with what they've got in store, Aang already holding on to a support ult here in the form of Valkyrie, Main pretty close to one of his own. They've shown that when they have these support ults, they're very proficient with them, despite the fact that on the other side, we're seeing those same ones online here as well. Pulse Bomb coming out, not going to find anything. They're going to jump in, though, and look for this Transcendence early from Epps, because we've seen Kenzie all over him. Luckily, though, this time, Shaxx is going to take this fight. Tonic's going to come over as well. He's going to find the kill. Tonic, once again, going into this corner. That point of recession there for Main, but he's not going to have to pop his Transcendence to stay alive. He goes back into the spawn. Now it's Tonic all over the place, jumping around, trying to find something here. They're getting Shark down low. Transcendence comes out, but it won't save the monkey. It's forced to get res, and they're still holding this point down now in overtime.
But more importantly, the Alan Fix making the swap into the Mei is going to provide some extra crowd control and potential stall. But it seems like somehow, some way, Orgless and Hungary still managing to find the kills they need. We'll have Finzi pick up Sharik at the end. And now as overtime kicks in, can anyone run to the point? No, it will be Orgless and Hungary picking up that second point. But that came down to the wire there. So close to losing it once more. However, it's going to be really tough now that we will be swapping over sides, as CIS Hope will look to, at the very least, have a potential third point take looking forward.
The target acquisition, the ability to just take everybody like number by number, just focusing down single targets and everything was really good for CIS Hope throughout, except for that last push. When we saw Orgless and Hungary diving in, it just didn't seem like CS Hope was kind of ready at that time. They tried to make a little bit of an adjustment to try to catch Orgless and Hungary off guard a little bit, brought the Mei in kind of early as well. But then, of course, what we saw was that res being forced out as well. I mean, the Transcendence just was a little late. There was just a couple of tiny, minute mistakes, I would say, or just late reactions from CIS Hope that allowed them to get that second point, but still a very staunch defense nonetheless, and forcing them to overtime is very solid for this map. Now putting themselves in a great position to try to take this 2-0 on the series, but first, of course, have to make their way through that first point, and we've already seen how teams attack so far in this matchup. Is that going to continue, or will we see a change here?
And it will be Shax answering with a Widowmaker of his own when it comes to the defense. So far, some slight alterations when it comes to their respective choices on that defensive comp. It will be Tonic on the Winston and no Orisa for them. And with maybe potentially not having the same control over the high ground that you would expect with an Orisa. Do you think this is going to pay off in the end?
Well, I mean, dive can certainly work. We've seen it work defensively before. Yeah, the Orisa high ground control is a mainstay, but teams have figured out how to deal with it. You know, you just go underneath, you pull them down, you have a good advantage. So I actually still kind of like the counter dive, especially when you have guys like Tonic and Finzi on your team that are just so proficient with this setup, and they're already showing that off right away. They took out both supports already for Orgless and Hungary, or rather, sorry, for CIS Hope here, who just walked in and really had no opportunity to do anything with their push. Kenzie's still in the back line on the point here, but they're going to hunt him down. I'm not sure if they're going to commit much to it, but we do see the Widow kind of looking for him here. Ooh, lands that first shot too.
Very nicely done there in the end, even though Shari answered with 2 kills of his own. It wasn't quite enough for them to really have anything done. Facility with a really big pick, especially to start things off there on that first support, will mean that it's going to be a bit more difficult for CIS Hope to push through, but they're going to try to do just that as Kenzie is all the way onto the point. We'll see Finzi drop extremely low with that mech, desuited once again, and with Facility having the rip tire, is going to be looking for those targets, finds one onto Sharik. However, Kenzie's still on the point. The Resurrect could come through. Aang, though, being punished means that it will make things a little bit more difficult than with Epps dropping back onto the point. Tonic cleaning house of his own. Kenzie, though, still answering with a kill onto Shax. Should be overall CIS Hope push back towards their spawn, and they need to try and potentially get something done here, as they do have that split attention covered for now. Cruz will actually commit the Resurrect over to Shax as well, but with that infrasite at the ready, it doesn't mean that they will at the very least spot this next approach coming out of CIS Hope.
On top of that, it also denies Kenzie to some degree, because with that infrasight up, he doesn't want to make too many aggressive peeks trying to make his way back over to the fight. So he's zoned off for a little bit here, as Shax is going to be able to deny him a little bit on this high ground. Now we're going to be seeing Kenzie get back into the fight. He already takes down Epps in that rapid of a time. Cruz now forced to pop out that Valkyrie just to get that res back up onto Epps. He's going to pop that Transcendence of his own. Unfixed holding onto the blade here, looking for that opportunity to take it out. And Shaq's going to be taken down as well on the Widowmaker. Again, CIS Hope all over the place. That's going to be the blade coming out just to try to shut down the Junkrat. He does just that. Now looking for the Mercy as well. CIS Hope going to be cleaning this one for sure. But still, a lot of time taken off the clock initially by Orgless and Hungary. And good stuff from Shax as well to just deny Kenzie to some degree.
But now going into this next point will be somewhat of a similar time left when it comes to that attack, and we've seen CIS Hope hold strong onto that second objective. We'll be curious to note if it's gonna be around the same thing happening once more, this time with the swap around in terms of the teams and their respective sides. Looking at the available ultimates for now, though, nothing really major on both ends. The biggest one here potentially is Finzi alongside Visibility, who can stall things on that point or potentially have an opening pick here. But the Pulse Bomb is not going to find anything. We'll look for the Riptire. It's going to go all the way from the back, potentially going for main. It's not going to find any targets, though. And as a result, as long as they can regroup, CIS Hope should be still able to continue with another push.
Cha gonna get healed up, and that's big here because it's gonna allow Aang to get very close to that Valkyrie for this next push. He's actually gonna get it online. Now looking at main, if he can get this Transcendence, they'll have that support ult advantage that you really want to see in any kind of fight. Now, Chao's taking a lot of damage, both tanks rather taking a lot of damage here as Shark falls. This might be a big opportunity to pop that Valk and just get this rolling. They do indeed, Transcendence ready already, and this is already huge. Unfixed with another blade, pulls it out, finds both supports, and they're now looking to try to take this mech down, which is going to be coming back into play. Tonic just beating everybody around with this Primal Rage, hoping for some kind of possibility to turn this fight around. They take out Main, who flies out back towards their spawn, and with the Transcendence here popped by Epps, they might be able to turn this fight. They might be able to get a momentum shift that they're looking for as Shark falls again here. 325, Orgless and Hungry somehow pull it out.
And Shark there being trapped with an excellent positioning coming out of Visibility there, even raging about with that ultimate online, was really unable to do anything, stop dead in his tracks, and it just somehow, some way, they don't even get one tick done on that objective, which is definitely big here coming into this next team fight. It is somewhat of a reset overall in terms of the ultimates. However, Shax picking up that kill is going to be big, especially considering Visibility is good to go with another Riptire.
We're seeing Orgless and Hungry get very aggressive here. This is big because this kind of, while they have momentum, it allows them to just start generating some more ultimates. And again, just that importance of getting your supports up high on that ult charge. Even if you are giving the same away to the opposition, when you're on defense especially, it's always going to be good to get your support ults up there, because you have that respawn advantage. If you die, you can come back. And even if you don't get the use out of them, you're not running, you know, miles and miles and miles to return to the fight to be able to get use out of that ult in that same fight. You also have the advantage of being able to set up as well. So really good stuff for the defense here. Orgless and Hungry with a big opportunity. Need to shut down Kenzie on the side, already getting off a lot of damage, but look at where Epps is over on the side, trying to take some fights alone. As Shax falls, there's no more defense here for Epps, who's now vulnerable on the side. Kenzie's not just going to find one, make it two, as Main somehow kills off Cruz as well. It looks like this might be the opportunity for CIS Hope to make something happen.
Ooh, but the Blade not really finding too much success. Doesn't really matter so far, as Finzi's gonna go down. Visibility to follow suit, but the defense is gonna continue on to hold. And with Cruz coming back in, as well as Epps with the Transcendence, gonna force both Transcendences out. And with Valk coming online for the defensive side, things might still look great here for Orgless and Hungry, especially with the Riptire picking up a double kill as they continue to hold, even with those two ticks and with 1 minute and 20 seconds left. So many ultimates committed here by CIS Hope. It's still going to be looking exceptional for the defense, potentially looking forward.
Well, they're definitely not going to get it over the minute mark at this stage. Certainly looking like there's a possibility that they won't even get it at all, but still a couple more opportunities here. Rather, two more maybe. But they're going to get aggressive, look for the Blade from Unfixed to try to make this happen. They got a lot off of it the last time. Actually, both times he's pulled it out so far, but now he's got it back up one more, and he needs to put some hurt onto Visibility. Needs to really kind of suffocate Cruz and Epps a little bit so that they can't get their ults and turn this fight like they did last time. You don't want to see this fight stalled off at all if you're CIS Hope. You want to be able to just jump in, find some early kills, and just roll that momentum forward, and losing Main isn't a good start.
That is definitely not what you were looking for, but with the blade being pulled out on Fix, is unable to do anything, forced out of position there. However, Cruz going down could be the start of good things for CIS Hope, but with Ang falling short as well, it's not going to be what they want. Zhao picks up Ebbs, but overall kills is somewhat equal. However, with the respawn advantage on the defensive side, Tonic and Facility coming back in is going to push the opposition away. Nobody on the point for now. Riptire is going to come out, and even though Unfix is going to try to push it to overtime extended, it's not going to be too successful, and we will see Orgless and Hungary equalize it 1-1.
And that's exactly what I was talking about too. You remember Epps fell very early on alongside Shax on that, inside that little tunnel area in dark, and Kenzie really made the most of that push. But because of the fact that they were able to generate so much of their ults by being aggressive on defense and generating some of that, Epps came back from respawn along with Cruz, and they just turned the fight. It's so easy, especially on point 2 of Anubis on defense.
And we will be right back with the decider map on Nepal. Don't go anywhere.
A very close match between these two on Temple of Anubis, but in the end, Orgless and Hungry simply had a better defense on the second point.
It really came down to the wire, though. Even when it comes to their respective offense, at the end, they were somewhat equal in terms of that ultimate. And just overall, it seems like those very small, minute advantages would really push them over the edge for that win.
Yeah, I think CIS Hope could have actually defended the second point, but they made some errors in the last seconds, basically, which eventually cost them the game in the end, since Orgless and Hungry they didn't really make any errors on that point. So coming up next is Nepal. Who do you think is going to take this one and win the series?
It's just awesome to see more control maps to start things off. Yesterday we had a little lack of them, only seeing one in Oasis. So it's gonna come down to more so individual skill than anything, usually when it comes to these maps. But judging by the fact that it is Nepal, and overall the flex DPS players on both sides were exceptional, I really think it's gonna come down to who will have the slightly better, potentially Junkrat or Farah, depending on which part of Nepal we're at.
Nepal is ready. Let's see who's going to take this series. Casters, take it away.
Welcome, welcome. It's me, Hurix, again. You get to hear my lovely voice, and kind of tired, but still making the most of it. And Brunch joining me here as well. We're going into a round number 3. Didn't seem as though we were going to see this initially going into Anubis, but it's been pretty back and forth and really not a high-scoring matchup so far.
And it's a really interesting contrast compared to some of the other rounds we've seen in the past when it comes to Group 1 as well, with a lot of back and forth, and when it comes to acquiring those objectives as well and just pushing it through overtime into the next set of rounds, etc. But coming into Nepal here over on Village, it's going to prompt a very interesting composition here coming out of both sides, really, as they try to go for a quad tank on one and a triple setup on the other.
Yeah, it's interesting. Shaq's on the McCree right now, not the standard that you would see, as Shark getting very aggressive, going to be diving in. He finds the kill onto Epps. That's a big kill to find when you're looking at these tank setups. Although looking at this now, Cruz, who somehow maintained to stay alive, they're going to be working their way around with that speed boost, trying to get back onto the point right now. They're making their way here, but already point control, especially going in favor of CIS Hope. And when they have control like this, it's going to be tough to take it away from them. They're still jumping in here. Aang taking a little bit of pressure initially, but Shax rather, Deadeye looking for a kill onto that back line. He already saw the D.Va out of mech, but they unleash Sharik with a huge Earth Shatter.
Oh, the big slam comes through as Sharik is going to once again deal so much damage on this lineup of Orgless and Hungry. And with these final kills, they're going to continue on to hold strong. Even though we did see Orgless and Hungry pick up the point swap back in their favor, and those small timings like denying that extra percentage being built up here for CIS Hope is definitely what can really turn the tides coming into the upcoming team fights here. But overall, both of these Reinhardts really playing to a very high degree here. We're gonna see them speed boost on the point once more. A lot of ultimates good to go on both ends. We'll see the Graviton, though. Soundbarrier gonna be prompted out first off. And now Visibility, Shax with Finzy's gonna be brought back up. But with the self-destruct gonna come through, Whole Hog as well is just gonna push them away. And overall, it's an all-out brawl, but it is going to be Orgless and Hungry falling short for now.
It was a great use of the Deadeye to get onto the point and secure 12%, take away that opportunity for CIS Hope to be even further along. But as they swap Shax over to the Reaper, it just doesn't seem to work there because momentum just so much in favor of CIS Hope. They had the Graviton already, Visibility still trying to work his way up to one. And now getting into that dangerous position where if they deny him here, they might not find one in this map.
And Coalescence gonna be the opener here coming out of the red-hand side. And Tonic is gonna charge into Shriek, both falling short. However, Shax good to go with that Death Blossom. He's gonna look to turn things around. Graviton's gonna catch quite a few. Finzy picks up a double kill, and that could be the opening few kills here in this team fight to really push things back in their favor eventually, but not before Main still answering with another kill onto Visibility. And with Zhao good to go with a self-destruct soon enough, they still hold strong onto this point. 98% built up, overtime kicked in. They need to do something here, Orgless and Hungry that is, as Zhao still gets Finzy there in the end, the 6v5 man disadvantage for them. And the Death Blossom doesn't really managed to find too much work done, and as a result might come down to the Soundbarrier. Visibility though picking up the kill onto Aang will look to still somehow some way turn things around. However, no, it's gonna be unfixed. Zhao, those tanks still getting the kills, and CIS Hope looking strong to start off Nepal with a win.
CIS Hope, Chao, they're going to be doing a VOD review later, and they're going to look at this, and they're going to see that Chao missed a huge opportunity just to close this map out with ease. He had the self-destruct, as we talked about, and look at the swaps that they were made. Tonic was already off of that Reinhardt. They already demeched, desuited that D.Va, and then, you know, with the self-destruct, they could have cleared the point in one fell swoop, and especially given, you know, where it was at, they might have been able to just win it just by popping it. But he went off to the side, allowed them to LOS it by staying on the point. And I mean, that kind of thing you just don't want to see, but still, obviously, they were just so far ahead in the fight. It didn't really matter. They didn't lose too much off of it, if anything at all. And now they already are up 1-0, looking solid. And of course, Chow, a big reason as to why that is. Playing phenomenally on this Steve, appealing so well right now, just diving around and pushing people around with those thrusters, and also with the defense matrix, making sure that he's denying a lot of that damage that's coming out, especially from Visibility and Shax here. But now we do see the soldiers coming out from both sides, taking opposite angles, and Visibility really getting a lot of damage right now.
At this point, just mirroring each other's composition when compared to that previous round. And so far, the opening kill is going to come out from Shax. Picks Sharik, who will be resurrected. Aang already out of options when it comes to that resurrect cooldown for a few extra seconds, around 20 at this point, most likely, as the point will go over in favor of Orgless and Hungry as they start out the map in a much better fashion this time around.
Shax now in a little bit of a duel. Visibility gonna take that first kill, and look how much damage he was able to do in that first fight. He already has attack visor. They're just all gonna run right off. Finzi is knocking them, but let's be real, they also took a plunge. So, I mean, while it did show that Finzi popped there, it was also a little bit to get out of the fight quickly for CIS Hope, try to get a reset, and reset they will. Unfix coming back in alongside the rest of the team, and Kenzie does have that pulse bomb, going to be looking for an opportunity to try to stick on to someone, try to get at least a little bit of a head start for the rest of this squad. Just not sure of how he's going to find one.
It was just so impressive to see Visibility already having that tag visor charge up, but he will be taking down Kenzie, opening that kill with the pulse bomb. Shax is going to answer with one onto Unfixed, but still, Finzi and Epps going down is going to make things really difficult here for Orgless and Hungry to stall things around on the point. Both Valks going to come out. Epps will have Transcendence, but he's all the way back at the spawn, and as a result, coming back in main with the Transcendence of his own, is going to look to stall things and potentially try to turn that point in their favor, but Shax still finds that particular kill. It's a all-out brawl, and at this point, it's looking so close. Chow will be managed to stay alive as he picks up a double kill with the self-destruct. We will see Orgless and Hungry try to just reset at this juncture, having built up 77% on that objective. We'll be looking poised to take this one and equalize it 1-1, but with a lot of ultimates still on this lineup of CIS Hope, it's gonna make it very difficult for them.
This is such an intense matchup for the tank battles. I mean, Tonic Finzi versus Shark Chow. It's just so back and forth with trying to control space. Not really a clear victor between the two. Now you're going to be seeing Shark get very aggressive because he does have that primal rage to back himself up, and he pulls it out. He somehow finds a flick hit onto Cruz, slaps him in the mouth, takes him to the ground, and now he's all over this soldier. Shark taking a lot of pressure here, looking to get that mega health pack, while the rest of this Orgless and Hungry squad is cleaning up the entirety of his team, and he's going to jump around, try to hold on to this for a little bit longer, but already gets flipped. 78% now for Orgless and Hungry. One more fight potentially here for this fight, which could take us into around number 3.
Oh, but Shax single-handedly there, taking the opposing squishies, the backline of CIS Hope down. Both supports as well as that soldier does mean that it will have already 94% built up at this point. It's going to be one mad dash coming out of CIS Hope. Sharik, though, picking up Epps is going to be a huge one, as Cruz is going to go down as well. Tonic answers with the one kill of his own with the Primal Rage, but this should go in favor of CIS Hope, as it's still a back and forth. Tonic finally gets taken down, and with the swap back over, it's going to mean CIS Hope need to hold strong on this point for a remainder of this round on Nepal.
Cruz getting pretty close to having that Valk, that double charge on the res, and Epps not too close, but you know, you can obviously see with those right clicks how lethal they are. Sometimes that Transcendence comes on pretty fast. You know, you can see ult charges down to about 45 seconds sometimes, but Tonic jumping in now.
But the answer is still coming in on both sides. Zhao answer with 2 kills of his own. It's going to be big. However, Shax still doing a lot of work. Takes down Unfixed. Fenzi's going to be brought back up since there's no mercy on this lineup of CIS Hope. Sharik, these tanks here for them, just doing so much work, taking down Eps as well as Facility. Is going to make things very competitive. And with 90% built up for them as well, Kenzie takes down 2. And with this kills, it's going to be CIS Hope somehow holding this point, holding on strong, pushing it into overtime, and somehow they will be able to do it now with the ultimate coming out of Facility. One last ditch effort. It's not going to be successful, and CIS Hope win the series in the end. Well played.
Really looked like Orgless and Hungry were going to take us to a round 3 there, but what a way to stay in it. And CIS Hope definitely deserving of this one. Played the game for Chow. He had a big moment here, and you know, we saw a couple of moments before as well, but look at how he just bursts down targets with that D.Va, just running straight at them, getting the reset here as well. Take down Shax and Eps. Big stuff from this guy.
And we will be moving on to our second series of the day soon enough. Don't go anywhere.